It's impossible to talk about Japanese design without talking about the tea ceremony, because so many of their responses to objects and the way objects acquire meaning stem really from that. The whole tea ceremony is based upon touch, upon actually feeling objects. You have to hold the thing and roll it in your hands before you drink tea from it. So you're actually sort of engaging with it physically. And there's a very strong sense of the way in which touch is part of the Japanese aesthetic. It's not just visual. And we tend to dominate our senses by the visual. They do much less so. And so that way of having a sort of reverence for an object, not in any kind of materialistic way, but much more because the object means certain things. It means control over nature. It means other spiritual things. So the object is central. The object is there and you relate to it, and ritual enhances that relationship with it. And that sense of the object moves right through to the Walkman, so that listening to music is another kind of ritual in which the object is central.
That reverence for objects and the marvellous approach to detail makes design and marketing relatively easy for Japanese companies, because everybody is attracted by the... You don't have to be Japanese to be attracted to these things. There's a sort of... These things really inspire cupidity, whether you want to own a Walkman or not. There are very few people who don't want to touch and feel, and it inspires the desire to own. And there's something which once again goes back to the sort of roots of Japanese culture in this. There are Zen terms for the sort of tape recorderness of a tape recorder. Sony's brilliant at doing that.
デザイナーっていうのはですね、要はみんなに一般に受けるコンスーマーに受けられることを考えるわけですから、例えばこういうのがあって、持ちたいとか触りたいとか、あ、可愛いとか、そういったことってだんだん大事になってきたんですね。だからそういう意味で私たちはですね、要するに形が綺麗だと、みんなが持ちやすいと、みんなが愛してくれるというデザインをしなきゃいけないということで、大きくデザインは変わってきたと思うんです。
ウォークマンは従来、10年経つんですけれども、このカセットテープを包み込む形としてこの四角い形でこの10年間来ました。しかし90年代の形をどのように探っていくかということで、この四角から例えばこういったような丸型のフォルム、こういうスタイルに展開できないかと。
丸い疑問は
なんか、よく出てますけど、何も全部カセットをね包み込まなくてもいいかなっていう感じもして、やっぱりだいぶ大きくなっちゃうかなっていうのがあって、
こういった四角いタイプですと、こういった角がありますね。ポケットに入れたとしても、こういったところが出っ張ってしまうと。これを、少しでも、メカを起こしながらこういったコーナーを取ることによって、よりその人間の体にフィットするといいますか、そういったフィットネスをキーワードにして次のウォークマンを提案していきたいと。
It's a mystery in a way, isn't it? Why do they need to produce 170 different models? I suppose the main explanation is commercial. You've got to keep selling things, and only so many people will buy a minimal object. You've got to revamp it. Having said that, how do you make a lifestyle object? Well, Sony, the Walkman is a perfect vessel for doing that, if you like, because it's nothing. It's a very small little box, initially made of metal. But if you want to then align it to other people's lifestyles, you just simply take your box and model it or style it in line with something that's evocative or associative. And so the woman's pale pastel-coloured one looks like something on her dressing table. The one with a shiny chrome surface looks like a piece of metal equipment you might have on a kitchen surface. It's a simple formula in which you kind of evoke something else in your product to make it appeal to the person who's got that something else.
The Walkman is not just a fashion item. For many Japanese, it's a polite but indispensable tool for tackling the stress of commuting life.
例えば通勤で朝満員電車ラッシュアワーの電車の中でウォークマンをしている人がかなりいますけれども、それはイギリス人が新聞を広げて隣の人と関係を断ったり、あるいはカバンを前に置いて隣の人との関係を断ったりするのととても似ていると僕は思います。それはウォークマンをかけることによって 自分の内側を音でいっぱいにして、そしてそれは意味からするとこういう音で囲まれた新しいシェルターを作って隣の人と接しないようにする。もちろん電車の中では体と体が触れ合ってるわけですけれども、そこに心理的に音の壁ができることによって自分はその自分だけの環境の中にいると、そういうふうにいい意味で言うと錯覚できるわけですね。
One can see the solipsistic Walkman as an attempt by the overcrowded Japanese to attain some sort of sense of privacy. But there's also the, the Western sense. I mean, Tom Wolfe coined the expression the me decade. I mean, after all this sort of, marvellous, like to teach the world to sing 1960s and 1970s. I mean, the 1980s is really rather different. I mean, people, wanted to make money and wanted to, obsessive vanity and commodity fetishism, and the Walkman is really a sort of sod you machine, isn't it? I've got my music and I don't care.
Well, mashed potato and beans are my favorite.
So we're right in the middle of dinner now. Tension here is pretty weird. Andy Warhol is wearing a pair of headphones, which he brought with him and hasn't taken off since he sat down. William Burroughs is looking fairly relaxed. He's wearing a beautiful pearl gray suit, and Warhol is telling him that he is the best-dressed man in New York, and he admires his look more than anyone else's.
Oh, tell Henry to come. Tell him it's really fun.
I'd hate to think of someone who'd been wearing one, say, for 10 years. What had happened? What would have happened to their brain? Had it developed in any way? And it's a bit like drink, I think. I mean, if you drink heavily, you can cut people off too, and you cut them out, and you can walk around going, wow, everything's terrific, and you feel great, and it's the same sort of thing. Same as being high, I suppose, than anything. Because they do make you high. And if you've worn them for any length of time and take them off, you don't just take them off and you stop listening to it as you turn off a radio. I mean, you're out of your brain anyway for about 20 minutes or longer. At a period in your life, I guess, there are times when you don't want to know about anybody, hear anybody, or anybody droning onto you or talking to you in any way, which is middle-aged or boring. So you cut them off. And there seems to be some point in life when, in fact, you can't wear a Walkman anymore. Or some part in your life when you say, oh, okay, hello world, here I am, I'm prepared to listen to you, I'm prepared to listen to the person next door to me on the train, underground or whatever. One is irritated by them. But I think the people that wear them don't like you, and I think that's why they wear them. They're shutting you out. They don't want to hear you saying anything or boring them to death about anything. I mean, you can't talk to them. I mean, the thing is, nobody talks to anybody anyway on the underground, and if you do, you get arrested. But I mean, if you did talk to them and said, oh, excuse me, I think I'm feeling ill, or I may faint, they wouldn't hear you, and they think you were mad. And they don't want to be involved with other people.
I think there is a genuine nuisance there, particularly amongst those that are turned up rather loud, and you get this irritating tinny sound, which is annoying to people nearby. There was a fair degree of discontent amongst other passengers, and where there is a nuisance to other passengers, the matter is covered by a bylaw, which means that somebody creating a nuisance, whether it's by a Walkman or a radio or whatever, is actually contravening the law of the land, and so we felt it was necessary to take some action. Where a machine is turned up very loud, it's irritating to even the most mild-mannered people. This has led to the odd incident now and again.
I don't know whether it's good for the people or bad for the people, but at least we gave people some joy of enjoying the music for himself. But the concept of Walkman will not be changed, because this is a stereo, not a car stereo. Personal stereo will never disappear.